Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. I wanted to have a quick chat with you today about these planes here. These all came from a mixed lot out of the last David Stanley auctions. I think there was 18 or 20 planes in there. I actually bought the entire box for these two planes here. This one is a nice, fairly early bead. I'm not quite sure who the maker is yet. I need to get a magnifying glass out, but the maker's mark is below this moss stamp, so I need to magnify that and see what's going on there. But also for this one here, again, is an early plane, slightly rounded chamfers. So sort of the Birmingham makers went on to quite rounded chamfers quite early. The chamfers at front and back are lovely and flat. Couple of really nice maker's mark there. And again, this one, the maker's mark's up under here. Let's have a look at that. But that's a really nice sash plane moulding, sash window moulding, a very low sash moulding. And again, it's quite a small one, so these don't come up all that often. They do come up, but they don't come up all that often. So I've brought that plane out of that box specifically because it's an early type plane, or an earlier type plane. It's not a really early plane, but it's an earlier type 18th century plane. Both of those are would be 18th century planes, I think. And then in that box there was a couple of other interesting things. So there's this little bead here that's been really well, I won't say well modified, but it's been really heavily modified. It has a depth stop on this side. It has an adjustable fence on this side, all of which have been added to this plane. And it's just something that's caught my eye. It's only a very small bead. I sort of don't know what the work it was modified for was. I will test it and find out. This bead opening in the sole has been heavily modified at this end. Yeah, it's just generally a rough plane. No maker's mark, only a very small bead plane. Yeah, just again, like I say, it caught my eye because it's interesting, sort of the modifications that were done to some of these planes. That wasn't a reason I brought it, and that's just one of the bonuses. And then there were these two. Now, these two are interesting because they're a 10 and an 11. Get that to focus. They're a 10. That's the 11. 10 there. They're in a 10 and 11 round soled planes, but as you can see, they've had the front end lobbed off, and I don't really know. And very crudely lobbed off as well, just somebody with a rough saw. I don't really know what the logic of that was. They must have been working up tight into something. This one has been rounded quite heavily because they're not normally surrounded. So that one he's also had the sole modified, which is the 11, I think. No, that's the 10. So 10's had the sole modified, the 11 is how it would have been. So they must have been planing tight into the nose or something, and they couldn't get a standard plane in. But you know, it's interesting what you find in these mixed lots. You know, you quite often have things like this that end up coming to me in mixed lots of planes. I'm not buying too many hollows and rounds now, although there were a couple of early this sort of age hollows in with that lot, which again added to its appeal for me. It's the earlier stuff that interests me now. I've got plenty of sort of 19th century planes. I don't really need that many more 19th century planes, and I'm not looking for hollows and rounds, and I'm not looking for beads per se. Only earlier examples of. I've got a full set, near enough a full set of hollows and rounds. I need a couple of number ones. I need a pair of number ones, and there's one or two other sizes that I need just odd sizes for. But I've got a 1 to 20 set, near enough. like I say, just a few bits missing. There's not many I'm missing now. So yeah, and again, same with the beads. Um, I've got one and a bit full sets of beads. Actually, I'm going to start lotting things like repeat beads and things like that. But making a couple of bastardized sets up to sell as to sell on again, because I don't need them all. I don't need that many repeats. Sometimes it's good, especially things like this where you've got a slightly modified hollow all around. They're good for getting into certain moldings. So I would keep something like that, and I would sell, a standard round. So yeah, I do need to thin down a little bit the sort of those sorts of planes, the common planes, the hollows, the rounds. Unfortunately, they're the planes that are not really worth a lot of money unless they're complete sets. But yeah, I will be bringing some back to the market soon because I just haven't got room for all of them. I've got enough, as long as I've got sort of, two planes of the common stuff for my students to use, then that's sort of generally enough. And that's what we tend to do, is have two stations going at any one time on a course. So yeah, I just wanted to have a look at these. This one in particular was what really caught my eye in that box. They weren't expensive, £30 I think. So yeah, a little bit of worm damage there, but to be expected of a plane of that age. Still a perfectly functional, usable plane for me. And you do see these smaller mouldings a lot on things like cottage windows and that sort of So common moulders, you know, hollows, rounds, beads, window planes, that sort of thing. I have recently brought 1 or 2, well 3 actually, really expensive window planes that are quite rare. So we'll look at those in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's all very interesting at the minute, guys. Work isn't, you know, never ending, and I still amaze myself every week that I manage to get 3 videos a week out. But I am trying, guys. But some inspiration from you guys of things you'd like to see and that sort of thing going forwards would be wonderful. So drop it in the comments what you'd like to see, guys. And as always, thank you for watching. If you could like and subscribe, and if you could also click the little bell so you get the notifications of the videos. Like I say, there's 3 a week at the minute. That would be amazing. It does all help with the YouTube algorithms and helps to grow the channel. You know, it's very definite. The more you guys comment and like the videos, the more YouTube pushes them. A bit of a lull at the minute. The watch hours are going down. I don't know whether that's because people just aren't enjoying what I'm putting out, or whether it's that the comments are getting less and less, and YouTube are then not playing the game and not pushing the videos. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't work this YouTube thing out. You know, you think you're doing really well at one point, and then, you know, 2 weeks later, the figures start to crash down, and it's very difficult to know what's going on with it. But anyway, guys, thank you all for so much for watching and liking and commenting, subscribing, etc. And thank you all to all the guys who sent me emails and, you know, private messages and that sort of thing, giving me the chivvy up to keep going with it all. It does get a bit daunting at times, especially when you're flat out busy with work and you've got customers chasing you, and, you know, farm work's stacking up, etc, etc. You know, it does all help keep me going. So thanks, guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.